There's opportunities for investing and growing that wealth. One of the ways is to do that is to the qualified business opportunity zones. And those are areas that the government has designated as areas that they want to build upon, right? They want to redeem these areas and make them better areas. And what they do is they create policy that if you invest in certain areas, we're going to give you tax write-offs, right?
This episode is sponsored by Therapy Notes, therapynotes.com. Be sure and check them out and be sure and use the promo code Gordon, Gordon, and you can try them out for 2 months for free. Over 15 years ago, when I started my private practice, I had to learn a lot, and most of it the hard way, and I don't think you need to do the same. Hi, I'm Gordon Brewer, a licensed psychotherapist, and welcome to the Practice of Therapy podcast, part of the Psychcraft network of podcasts. Join me in this journey of discovery as we have conversations with other leaders and professionals in both the mental and allied health fields. Join us as we explore both the business and clinical sides of running a private practice. And welcome to the podcast. This is episode number 313 of the Practice of Therapy podcast. I'm Gordon Brewer and glad you're with me and glad you're here listening to this particular podcast. And I hope you'll take time to follow us or subscribe to the podcast wherever you might be listening to it. I'm looking forward to you hearing from my guest today, Susanne Mariga. And Susanne is a CPA, and we talk about a lot of money stuff in this particular episode. And I know with this being towards the beginning of the beginning of the year, this is really a good time to be thinking about really positioning yourself to be financially solvent in this next year, but also just talk a little, we touch on a lot of different things. We talk about taxes, we talk about retirement planning, and really getting her insight on all of those things. One of the things too that Susanne has done is she's another Profit First person, and that she's also written a book on Profit First from the perspective of minority business owners. So we'll talk more about that towards the end of the interview. But one of the things I'll say here before we get into our interview is if you don't know about Profit First yet, it is one of the top books that I recommend for business owners, and there's 2 books that you should check out. One is Profit First for Therapists by Julie Harris, and we'll have links here in the show notes for these, but also the original Profit First book by Mike Michalowicz. And both of those books I can commend to you as being standards that every business owner, every private practice owner should read just to understand the financial side of things. I know that is something that I've been passionate about over the last several years, is just helping people understand their money mindset better and how they can make their practices profitable. Because if you're not making a profit, you're not going to stay in business. And so it's pretty simple in that sense. And so Susanne and I delve into a lot of this in this particular episode. So looking forward to you hearing my conversation with her. But before we get to that, a few things I'd like for you to check out. One is the Practice of Therapy community. And if you'll go over to practiceoftherapy.com/community, you can sign up. It's free to sign up for the Practice of Therapy community that's housed on the Circle platform. And again, when you sign up for it, I think it'll be pretty intuitive for you. There are some tutorials about using that particular platform. But one of the reasons that I'm using the Circle platform is it helps me get away from having to deal with all the algorithms on Facebook and other social media platforms like Facebook, LinkedIn, and that kind of thing. So be sure and check it out, practiceoftherapy.com/community. It's where I love having conversations with people through that platform. So be sure and check it out. And also, I'd love for you to check out my friend, and I've mentioned this towards the end of last year. I've got a good friend of mine. Her name is Ashley, and she has started a website called Mental Health Wear tn.com, Mental Health Wear Tennessee, and it's just mentalhealthweartn.com. And what you're going to find there is just lots of cool t-shirts and print on demand things, and she's got some jewelry on there and all kinds of cool things. And I'd love for you to check it out because her focus is really geared towards the mental health and recovery niche. And so lots of inspirational products on there, and you can check them out by going there. And also, if you'll use, when you go to that website, if you'll just use the coupon code POT24, you can get 25% off your first order. So be sure and check it out, mentalhealthweartn.com. And we'll have links here in the show notes and the show summary. So also, before we get to my conversation with Susanne, I'd love for you to check out one of the members of the Sightcraft Network, or hear from one of the members of the Sightcraft Network, and also from our sponsor of the podcast, Therapy Notes.
Hey there, I'm Aaron Potratz.
And I'm Nathan Hawkins. If you don't know us yet, we're the hosts of the Shrink Think podcast, which bridges the gap between therapists and clients.
The Shrink Think podcast is proudly part of the Sightcraft Podcast Network, focused on helping people live more meaningful and productive lives.
Join us every Wednesday in our engaging, informative conversations and lighthearted humor to help you normalize and demystify therapy for those beginning or continuing their mental health journey.
We discuss everything from understanding styles of therapy to addressing conflict with your counselor, learning about attachment styles, and the fear triangle. We seek to run the gamut of topics to pull back the curtain and empower effective therapy.
If you haven't listened yet, you can find us at shrinkthink.com/podcast and discover other resources, including educational videos and fun swag at our swag shop.
Have you ever wished your private practice could run as smoothly as a well-oiled machine? Well, look no further, because Therapy Notes is here to revolutionize your practice. Therapy Notes is the complete practice management system you've been dreaming of. With everything you need to manage patient records, schedule appointments, meet with clients remotely, create rich documentation, and handle insurance billing, it's your secret weapon for a smoother practice. And the best part? It's accessible wherever and whenever you need it. Yep, even on the go. Imagine having more time for what truly matters, your clients. It's like having an extra set of hands, but digital. And here's the kicker. It's the very EHR Gordon relies on in his own practice. So, you know it's the real deal. Say goodbye to paperwork nightmares and hello to more time and better quality care. Check out Therapy Notes today at practiceoftherapy.com/therapynotes. Oh, and don't forget to use the promo code GORDON to get 2 months free. That's practiceoftherapy.com/therapynotes with the promo code GORDON. Enjoy the show.
Well, hello, everyone, and welcome again to the podcast. And happy for you to get to know today Susanne Mariga. Hi, Susanne.
Hi, Gordon. Happy to be here.
Yes. And Suzanne's background is that she is a CPA. And just today, we're going to be talking about just some money stuff. And I think a lot of the questions that people have. I know that Susanne is also a Profit First therapist. And so we had Mike McAllowitz on a previous episode. And so I'm really looking forward to learning from Susanne and just talking about taxes and profit and building wealth and that sort of things. But Susanne, as I start with everyone, tell folks a little more about yourself and how you've landed where you've landed.
Sure. Thanks, Gordon. So I am a CPA. I've been a CPA for, I stopped counting, like over 20 years. Yes,
Hmm.
a long time. And we specialize in providing fractional CFO services. And most of our clients are on the larger side, 7, 8 figure entrepreneurs. And we help them implement profit first, but we do it by specializing in high net worth tax strategies. So I'm excited to share with your audience some of that. But my personal journey with profit first was like many entrepreneurs, right? We do the business that we love, right? You guys love helping people. You're amazing therapists. You're the heart people of the world. And well, I was
Hmm.
the left brain accountant of the world, right? I loved like looking at numbers and I love strategizing and I never thought beyond what I wanted in my business. And as a result, the results that we got in our business was very random. And it wasn't until I really learned to prioritize the things that I wanted and I aligned those actions with the values, right? You guys are psychologists, that I really started to get the results that I wanted. And so I'm so excited about Profit First and
Hmm.
excited about talking about that too today with you guys.
Right, right. Yeah. So I know one of the things we kind of chatted about a little bit before we started recording is just one of the things I know a lot of us as therapists, and I know this has been kind of my own work as well, is really getting in the right money mindset. Do you want to say some things about that?
It's interesting because, when I was going through my certification and Profit First as a Profit First professional, I was at the same time going through what I would call coaching certification. And it was interesting because, I learned about, that there was this very simple stick figure that just kept showing up in all the books that I was reading. And it was a man and he had a body and he had a head, right? And this head was pretty simple, right? But it was actually more to it than what it looked like, right? There was this conscious mind, subconscious mind. And this conscious mind was like the thinking mind, like, what do I want for lunch today? How do I feel about do I want to take this route to get home? And it was all affecting his emotional mind, which is his subconscious mind. Like, how do I feel about what I'm about to have for lunch? Or how do I feel about having to take this route home today? And all that was like creating dendrites and synapses in his body, right? Which was driving
Hmm.
actions and behaviors that was creating results, whether he liked it or not. And that's the same way it is with money, right? When how we view money and how we view the outcomes, or if we're even thinking about the outcomes that we particularly want, right? Those drive the actions
Hmm.
and behaviors in our body that creates the
Hmm.
outcomes that we want. And as business owners, we have to think about it. Like what does winning really look like for us? What is the end goal that we want to have? And really start to idealize that, create that picture, that Polaroid picture, so that we can align our minds with our behavior and our feelings
Hmm.
to get those results that we want. And that's how it is with money. I think a lot of times, especially in the heartfelt fields like
Hmm.
yourself, Gordon, and many of your audience, this is what we've been called to do from a stance of service, right?
Hmm.
And we love it so much we probably would do it for free.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, free, isn't going to allow us to retire one day, right? It isn't going to
Hmm.
allow us to build generational wealth. And so, although it's great to do it in service, also honoring who you are as a person, right? To 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 know what is it that I really want. How do I create a win-win situation? It's starting with what is winning for you, right? Starting with what is
Hmm.
winning for me, and really outlining that to create that path to get there.
Right, right. Yeah, I think one of the ways that I've thought about it, and again, some of my own self work around just money mindset is really looking at what is the lifestyle I want to lead and what is the lifestyle I want to keep with, because money is just a vehicle or a means or a tool that you use to achieve those things. And so I think it's important to, in many ways, take the emotion out of money, because I think that's where people get in trouble.
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, I remember me like when I started my practice, just like I talked about earlier, it was about serving. And I remember like after about 3 years of owning the practice, I remember sitting across the dinner table with my husband And now I had started this practice to be able to spend time with my daughter who was just born. I had left my corporate job to be a mom but not give up her career. And I remember like working really long hours. And I remember like just, trying to super serve my clients and lowballing my prices, right? Because I wanted to get more clients. And I remember sitting across the table with my husband one Sunday night, and he was like, honey, you'll be better off you get a job. We'll see you more and you'll actually get paid. Again, it wasn't until really thinking about what I wanted that I was able to start to achieve those things, because I had that mental picture and somehow connected that psychology to those actions to create those results.
Right. Yeah. I think it does take a clear picture of where you want to be and where you want to go and what that looks like, that vision kind of thing, which is not anything new to people, but I think really you get to the basics of that. And that's kind of what you ground yourself in order to know where you're going to go. Yeah. Yeah. So I know one of the other things that's kind of in your purview, so to speak, Susanne, is just around being aware of taxes. And since you are a CPA, that's probably one of the first things people think about with CPAs. And and just really what you can do to kind of leverage yourself or help yourself kind of build wealth and really think about retirement and that sort of thing.
It's interesting because I remember when I first started my practice, one of my first clients, I remember him bringing a shoebox into the office. And I remember like him popping down the chair across from me, and he's pushing a shoebox towards me on my desk that I wasn't quite sure if I wanted to touch or not. And he goes, whatever you do, I don't want to pay any taxes. And I remember like getting to the bottom of the shoebox, all these crumpled up receipts, and pulling out this piece of paper that he called a profit and loss. And I remember looking at this piece of paper and I was like, well, don't worry, sir, you're not going to pay any taxes because you didn't make any money. Your bottom line is negative, right? There's no money. And I remember him coming back a couple of days later, signing for his return. He was excited. He was getting earned income credit. I think it was like a couple $1,000s. It's that credit for showing up to work, even if you weren't successful. And he was like, he felt that I did pretty good, and I felt like I did pretty good. And then the next year he comes back and he's got that same shoebox. He's recycling. And he's like, whatever magic you did the year before, I want you to do that again. And I said, okay, sure. And I get to the bottom of the shoebox and I'm like, still, sir, you're not going to pay any taxes. You didn't make any money. And again, he goes away, thinks I did a great job. I think I did a great job. And the third year he comes back and this time, he plops down again. He's got the same shoebox. He's thrifty. And he's like, he still says that joke, I don't want to pay any taxes, but this time is different because now he looks tired. Now he looks older. And now I know him a little bit better. I get the call at like, first thing in the morning or the email at 11 o'clock at night, and I see him paying people payroll and he doesn't have anything. He's not even paying himself, and, he's got all this office rent, but he doesn't even own his own home. And I want to ask him, I'm like, sir, like, how are you going to retire one day? Because one day I'm going to retire. How are you going to retire? And the reality is, yes, it's, great to like get deductions, but at the end of the day, it's if you're hurting the government, but you're also hurting yourself, who's winning from this?
Right.
And so I think that good tax planning starts with the fact that it's okay to win, right? It's absolutely okay to win. We work to win, right? We work to be able to enjoy our lifestyle. We work to be able to provide for our families, right? We work to create a better generation for the next generation that's coming behind us. And buying filing cabinets when we don't need that, buying those big heavy cars that are like, almost 10,000 pounds and gas guzzling, it's not doing you any good at the end of the day. So first of all, knowing that other side of success is taxes, and that's absolutely okay. Now, the next thing I would say that's important is that, all right, now that you know that tax is the other side of success, right? We've accepted that. Now what I want us to look at is how do I get tax savings? How do I get tax deductions without increasing my expenses? A lot of CPAs are like, go out and buy that truck. Go ahead and get those filing cabinets. Run out. It's December 31st. Now it's your last opportunity. And I want you to take a different step back. So if you're a solo practitioner out there, right? There are amazing things that you can do. One of the things is a KEOG plan or solo 401k. That's going to allow you to put away $66,000 into your retirement account every year. And if you hire your spouse, double that, 130,000 almost is what you're putting away. If you're over 50, you're putting away like 73,000, right? And one thing about that is you're getting a tax deduction, you're getting that right up. But guess what? Did your expenses really go up?
No, not in that situation. No.
Exactly. You passed it from the right hand to the left hand, right? You just built your net worth while getting a really nice tax write-off. And I'm assuming at that point you're probably in a 37% tax bracket. So that's a pretty nice savings on the 66,000 that you put away for your future self.
Right.
You know, the other thing is if you've got employees, right? And everybody that has a business says, you know what, I want to increase profits. How do you increase profits in a service-based business, right? One way is you get good employees and you keep them, right? Because the longer employees are with you, the better that they're going to get in their job, right? They're going to be more efficient. You're not going to have to train them over and over again. They're going to get more independent so that you don't have to see every client anymore. It's just a win-win for everybody. So maybe go, okay, what would make my employee stay with me longer, right? And one of the things I would think about is, okay, maybe we're going to do a retirement plan, but it's going to be a retirement plan aligned with my goals. And so what I'm going to say is I'm going to build a retirement plan. It's going to be a 401k, maybe traditional or not traditional, right? Maybe it's a safe harbor, maybe not. But what I'm going to do is you got to be with me for 6 years before you can fully vest. 6 years, right? And that means that if you get stolen away by the shiny lights of my competitors, or you end up starting your own practice, you're going to forfeit your contributions. Yeah. Now, what that means is I've got a tax deduction every single year because that you were with me. But if you leave me, you forfeit those monies, but they stay in the trust, right? And if I happen to be the last person standing, guess whose retirement account I just contributed to?
Right. Yeah. Yeah. This is, one of the things that I know in just working with folks, and I know we were talking about money mindset earlier on, but one of the things that I think people don't recognize is how you invest. In other words, a money mindset problem that most people have to get over is they think about money in terms of, if I pay anything out, then the money is gone or the money is not there anymore. But really, in this way of thinking about things, you're taking that money and you're increasing it by investing. You want to say more about that? I mean, I know that's pretty basic kind of stuff, but I think you could add a lot to that.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
It's about preparing for your future self, right? And I always say, I want future Suzanne. I don't want her yelling at me when she thinks about me. I want her happy and joyful. And so it's creating that way for that future self to be happy with you is really what you're doing with that. And also, it's a win-win. Uncle Sam doesn't want to take care of you when you get older. And you're building for your future is what you're doing with that. So it's a really great strategy from that standpoint. And, you're supplying for what you need, which is really great. Another thing that we do with our clients and going on about tax strategy is, there's opportunities for investing, right? And growing that wealth. And one of the ways is to do that is to the qualified business opportunity zones, right? And those are areas that the government has designated as areas that they want to build upon, right? They want to redeem these areas and make them better areas. And what they do is they create policy that if you invest in certain areas, we're going to give you tax write-offs, right? And so maybe what that means is, okay, if I've got some capital gain or investments that you've had over a year, and I invest this money, there's something called step up in basis. And what that means is, let's say I decide to buy my practice building. Let's say I decide to spend a couple $100,000 on my practice building because I want to service the local community. In 10 years, when that community is revived, let's say my building appreciates, it doubles in value. And so I bought this in this qualified opportunity zone at 200,000. And in 10 years is worth 400,000, that appreciation, that difference of 200,000. Well, guess what I just did? It's a tax-free transaction when I sell it, because again, I use tax law in order to create investment opportunities to build my net worth and create tax savings.
Right. Yeah, I think that's a smart thing for anybody, that if if you're leasing from somebody, you want to dive in a little deeper on that. I'm just thinking about, okay, if you're in a practice and you've got a building that maybe is occupied by other people, other therapists, and you decide, okay, I'd like to buy the building. What are some ways for a person to think about doing that?
Right. In terms of how to buy the building, or tell me a little bit more, Gordon.
Yeah. Is buy the building and why it might be to their advantage to do that, as opposed to just keep paying rent or, paying a lease.
I remember hearing the story of, I believe it was Sam Walton of Walmart. And I think he may have leased early on, and then he lost his lease and he had to restart all over again. After that, he's like, I'm just going to buy every building I'm in from now on, because I don't want that rug pulled out from underneath me ever again.
Mm-hmm.
And I love the way my husband talks about it. He goes, when you buy the building, and of course there's some wisdom with picking where you're going to be located at, make sure it appreciates.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of like getting free rent for like the next
Mm-hmm.
10 years. It's what it's like, because at the end of the day, you have an asset that can be sold, right? That's
Mm-hmm.
going to appreciate in value. Instead of paying it to someone else, you're paying into your equity at the end of the day.
Right. Yeah. And I think that's an important concept for people to get their heads around. It's just, asset building and being able to increase your wealth that way as well. Yeah. Yeah. So in your work with folks, I love that story about the man in the shoebox. What do you see as some common mistakes that people do make in terms of running their business and things that they can change?
So the most common mistake that I see, and I think we all start here, and not enough of us actually grow out of it, is, we don't really figure out what does winning look like. And what that means is we don't sit back and go, what's the end goal of this? What's the end goal of me waking up every morning, doing what I do? What is the thing that I really want out of this? And so, as Simon Sinek says, it starts with why, right? So figuring out that why.
Mm-hmm.
The next thing that I see is then they don't have a process to get where they are. And I know Mike McCallum was on a few weeks ago on your show, but we use the profit first method. And what the profit first method is, it's a cash management system. It's not an accounting system. Please don't go back to your accountant and say this is an accounting system I want to implement. It's a cash management system. But what it does is it prioritizes paying your profit first. So kind of like Dave Ramsey and its envelope system, what's going to happen is you're going to create bank accounts and you're going to transfer money to the bank accounts based upon designated purposes. So all money is going to come into one account, which we call a revenue account. And then twice a month, usually on the 10th and 25th, we're going to allocate to the different bank accounts. We're going to allocate to our profit account because we're going to pay our profit first. We're going to allocate to our owner's pay. I can't tell you how many times I meet owners and they paid everybody else on their staff, but they haven't paid themselves.
Right.
You are the MVP. You're the most valued player. Today you step out, that practice no longer exists. And then we're going to realize there's another side. There's a side of success that we're going to prepare for, and that's called taxes. So we're going to allocate a portion to taxes. And then after we've allocated to profit, owners pay tax, what's left over is operating expenses. And that's the rest of the money gets allocated to that. And that's the money that you're going to make decisions on every day. Can I afford to be in that big building, or can I find another way? Is there a way of me renting out a building that's maybe in a part of or a room and it's part of a physician practice, or maybe meeting my clients over Zoom and doing a virtual practice? Can I afford to go out and buy everybody a new computer on my team, right? And what's going to happen is, from a psychology standpoint, is you're going to be implementing something called Parkinson's law. And what Parkinson's law says is the more there is of something, the more I'm going to use. I tell people, don't take me to a Golden Corral. Don't take me to a Golden Corral because I've never left Golden Corral proud. I walk in there. There's like 3 plate stations, one in the middle, one on each side. I actually memorize what it looks like. There's a salad bar on the right side, and there's it turns into a taco bar and then a meat bar.
Yeah.
And then there's you can see that this is the walk of shame here, and dessert bar, chocolate fountain. Somebody's been there too many times. When I go to Golden Corral, I have never left proud. Now, on the other hand, Gordon, when we go to order dinner, I get this small little 5-inch plate. I might just fill it up a little bit with like carrot sticks and celery, but I'm not going to eat as much as what I did at a Golden Corral. Now, I'm not going to ever tell you I'm hungry because I'm not going to be hungry at the order of dinner, but I'm going to leave more proud. And that's exactly how it is with money. When we look at this bank account and it's all money coming into that bank account and being spent from that bank account, the day we got paid, oh my gosh, let's go buy everybody a computer. Everybody needs a new MacBook,
Yeah.
Or maybe I can get that Cadillac Escalade, and go drive to my meetings. But if I separate my bank accounts and I create the small operating expense bank account, what's going to happen is that I have boundaries, right? I have boundaries on what I can spend. And so I'm going to spend a whole lot less money than if I'm just using one bank account that gets all the money comes in and there's an opportunity for all the money to go out.
Right. Yeah. And I would encourage people that if you haven't read Profit First, I would encourage that. And you've got a Profit First a book as well. Susanne, you want to say something about that and who it's really kind of geared towards?
So I have a book. It's part of the Profit First family. So Mike Michalowicz and I wrote it together. It's called Profit First for Minority Business Enterprises. But even if you are not a minority, people tell me they enjoy the book. Like I get DMs all the time from people that have read my book. And I'm like, you're not a minority. And the reason why the book was written was because I wanted to shift neighborhoods. I wanted to shift wealth in neighborhoods. And one of the things that I see with entrepreneurs, they don't know what they don't know. And this book, what it does is it covers profit first as a strategy, similar to what Mike's book does, same strategy, but we go into some different things. So we talk about tax strategy. We talk about government contracting. So for some of you guys that are wanting to get contracts with school districts or with prison systems or different governmental entities, we talk about when is a bid a good bid and when it's a time to say no bid, right? So we talk about government contracting. We talk about some mindset things like, what do you do when you walk into a room and nobody looks like you in this book? So it's definitely a book that everybody can benefit from. One of the things that I'm most proud about with the book, Gordon, is we earmarked a part of the proceeds to go to a nonprofit organization called Hope Worldwide. And what we do is we provide scholarships for girls in Zimbabwe to be able to go to school. And the reason why is in Zimbabwe, the government doesn't provide you with school, right? And so, we literally, we for the last few years, we've filled up a classroom full of girls just because of book sales. And I always tell people, I said, you know what? A lot of time these girls, they're groomed to be married one day. And imagine telling a doctor that she has to be somebody's second wife. That's not going to happen, right?
Yeah,
so that's probably that's probably what I'm most proud of with the book. But it's definitely a great book. It's Kirkus reviewed, Publishers Weekly's editor's pick.
Yeah, all right. Oh, that is such a heartwarming story, because I think a lot of times we can kind of get in our bubble and not be aware of other parts of the world and other parts of how people live. And so that's great. That's great. Well, Susanne, I've got to be respectful of your time, and I'm so glad we had this conversation. Tell folks how they can get in touch with you and also find the book.
So the best way to get in contact with me is I actually have a gift for your audience.
Okay.
And what this gift is if you're starting your profit first journey, I have a table of what a healthy company looks like. And what I mean by that is what percentage of your revenue should be going to profit, what percentage should be going to owner's pay, what percentage should be going to tax, what percentage should be going to operating expenses. If you go to profitmap.co, that's profitmap.co, you're going to be able to download that table, and depending on the size of your business, be able to figure out, what percentage should be going to profit, owner's pay, and tax and operating expenses.
Awesome. That's great. That's great. And we'll be sure to have links in the show notes and the show summary. Well, Susanne, so glad you joined us for this episode. I think this is an important topic, and I appreciate the work that you're doing and in all areas of your life.
Thank you, Gordon, for having me.
Well, a big thanks to Susanne for joining me on the podcast. And be sure to check out her book, Profit First for Minority Business Owners or business entrepreneurs. And she just adds a lot to this conversation from that perspective. And, one of the other things that I would really encourage everyone to do, and that is to really think about how you're going to manage your retirement. One of the things for me is as I'm approaching that time, and one of the things that I'm so grateful for is that I prepared for that. And so I'm not going to have to worry too much about money in retirement. And I don't say that in a bragging way, but just in a way to really, particularly having gone through, recently the death of my wife, and also just her care and how we prepared for that. Just took so much stress off of us by having those things in place. And as I tell people all the time to start saving for your retirement is yesterday. I mean, just as I tell some of my clients, I'm putting my old fart hat on here, but I really would encourage you to do that. And the good thing is with the Profit First system, you can do that very easily and very painlessly. So, and Susanne gave some great ideas about that in this particular episode. So be sure and check out her things. You'll find links here in the show notes and the show summary. And also, love for you to join the Practice of Therapy community. You can get to it by going to practiceoftherapy.com/community, and love to see you there and enjoy, start some conversations. And also be sure and check out my friend Ashley's website, mentalhealthwaretn.com. And I think you'll find some cool stuff. She's got a lot of stuff on there geared towards professionals. So like if you're looking for an LCSW sweatshirt or a LMFT sweatshirt or t-shirt, she's got them there. And so go check them out. They make great gifts, but also some great swag for yourself, plus things that you can decorate your office with that are really specific to our niche here in the mental health field and recovery field. So check it out, mentalhealthwaretn.com. And also, big thanks to our sponsor of the podcast, Therapy Notes. You can check them out by going to practiceoftherapy.com/therapy notes. And if you go there and you try them out, be sure and use the promo code Gordon, just GORDON, and you can try them out for 2 months for free. They are one of the best platforms for mental health providers as far as having an electronic health record system and a portal for your patients and your clients. It's really an all-in-one kind of thing, and I absolutely love all the improvements they continue to make to their platform, and just so easy to use and just makes our life so much easier in our practice by using Therapy Notes. So be sure and check them out. So thanks again for joining me on this particular episode. Look forward to being with you in the future episodes coming up. Got a lot of great guests lined up, and be sure and take time to follow us or subscribe to the podcast and leave us a review wherever you might be listening to it. Take care, folks. You've been listening to the Practice of Therapy podcast with Gordon Brewer, part of the PsychCraft network of podcasts. You can find out more about the other great podcasts in the network by visiting psychcraftnetwork.com. And if you haven't done so already, please visit us at practiceoftherapy.com and get your free private practice startup guide, along with a lot of other great resources and webinars and free things just by visiting. Also, be sure to follow us wherever you might be listening to your podcasts. This podcast is intended to be educational in purpose and is not intended to give legal, accounting, or counseling advice. If you need a professional, find the right person for that.